Very excited to have him on. Jaxon Bourne is joining me right now. What's going on, man?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, buddy. It's always good to have a fan who's, helping the local indie talent be able to get their names out there, get the names of their companies out there. It's always good to see somebody that's actually stepping up and letting us actually shine for once.
Very, very true. Shout out to my good friend and a friend of yours, Sign Guy. I've heard of you through him, and let's just say I had a lot of wrestlers from Pacific Northwest reached out to me and trying to get these interviews booked as soon as possible. There's a lot of talented wrestlers that need to get the platform, and I'm glad that guys like Sun God and myself are giving wrestlers that platform. Before I go any further, get questions with this pandemic going on and everything. How are you and the family health ride?
Well, the pandemic's hard on everybody. I mean, the pandemic is tough because we can't do what we do.
Yeah.
So, it's hard for me, especially, as being the World Heavyweight Champion company. It's hard for me because I can't go out there. I can't see the fans. I can't do the one thing that I love to do, and that's get in that ring, that's to entertain, and that's to be in the locker room. I mean, you said it yourself. Pacific Northwest has a lot of talent out there, and I've been blessed to have an awesome locker room over at World Underground Wrestling. But now that the pandemic's here, the only thing we can do is continue to keep our name out there. I also work something called an electronic federation. It's promo wrestling. We have cards and everything else. We actually throw out shows, but it's people who promo. Then the promo's judged. It's just fans who can't actually step in and do what I do, but want to. So they can build a character, they can promo their character, and they can live that life even though they can't wrestling. So I've been, not being able to wrestle, I've been diving into that a lot more, trying to keep up with some of the fans, see how they're doing. But it's still tough, man. This pandemic's been tough on a lot of, just the indie wrestling scene as it was, because when it hit, indie wrestling was popping. When it hit, indie wrestling was becoming more popular than professional wrestling. So it's a tough break.
I've always felt like independent wrestling is the heartbeat of wrestling overall, because a lot of wrestlers that household names, they got their start in independent wrestling, performing in small crowds and in small places, paying their dues, way up, hoping for opportunity to come their way. So when this pandemic came, it shook the core of wrestling. It's devastating that these performers like yourself are not able to perform right now. And while some are starting to reopen here and there, others are hesitant of reopening as well. So some have to wait a lot longer than others. But hopefully, hopefully, guys like yourself will get some encouraging news, that y'all be able to resume back to doing what y'all love to do.
What people don't understand is, everybody goes around saying, "Oh, well, wrestling's fake. Oh, well, wrestling's fake. Oh, well, wrestling's fake." But you guys, what they don't understand is the mental, physical strain that it puts on a wrestler. For most independent wrestlers, we're on the road 3 or 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. We're traveling the road, we're spending our own gas to do it, and all you're getting is a hot dog and a handshake. But, we do it, you never know, one of those shows, there's going to be somebody there that actually sees what you're doing and gives it to the right person that sends you to the next step. But, independent wrestling is great. A lot of And you were saying that a lot of the talent, household names came from, wrestling. A lot of household names also came from backyard wrestling. I don't think that's backyard wrestling. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's what turned me on to actually start into the independents. Was, a little wrestling show going on here. The Hardy Boys, they got their break backyard wrestling. There's a lot of people that are household names right now did that as well. But, not a lot of fans actually get to know exactly what kind of toll it takes on a wrestler to go out there and do what we love. Yes, it's an addiction. Yes, breaking that curtain and hearing fans either cheer or boo you, it's an adrenaline rush that you will never, ever experience ever again. But at the same time, it and a lot of guys out there who I've talked to, it's tough. But that's why we do it. That's why we pack. That's why we pack our bags. That's road trip. That's why we go to every venue that we go to. Those fans, if it wasn't for fans, there would not be a job.
As you said, wrestling does take a toll on a human's body. I've always considered wrestlers some of the toughest athletes in the world. I've always felt that way when I became a wrestler, and I still feel that way to this day. Injuries, piling up, and y'all keep coming back for more and performing for the fans. And as a fan, I appreciate that. We do want to make sure that you wrestlers are okay, healthy, being healthy. So, you talk about injuries, you talk about bumps and bruises. From your career, what are some of the injuries, that you've dealt with? Those that has been devastating, those that made you wanted to hang it up. What's some of the injuries you dealt with of your career?
Well, one of the biggest ones that I had was back when I was doing wrestling. We actually the ring, and we were kind of going into a more professional type of atmosphere. A ring was built in a big area, and we had places for fans and everything like that. I was in a street fight. It was the second street fight in the set of street fights. When the guy went 29 and a half minutes, we go to the half hour beating the hell out of each other. With everything that wasn't nailed down, we came with cuffs and everything else just to hear fans. But the second outside the ring, I went for a suicide dive. And at the time that we had planned it, he was supposed to catch me. He was supposed to roll up, make the fan pop, and that was the spot. Well, he moved last minute, and I kind of directly on my head and scraped, basically grass with my face. And at that time, I didn't see anything. I couldn't see anything. I just saw the ground, and then it went black. And when it became two, and I was able to see what was going on, and I was actually able to hear people and everything else, the only thing that came out of my mouth is, did I finish the match? Did I finish the match? They're like, are you okay? I'm like, no, did I finish the match? They're like, yeah, somehow I got up off the ground and you wouldn't finish the match. Well, I was the inner city champion at that time, and I went to the doctor, and they said that I had massive swelling of my brain and spinal cord, and, I'd have to be out of action for, 4 days. They wanted me to stay. It's 30 days is a protocol for something, for and like that, but they wanted me to take that 10 extra days because of how much swelling there was. So I had to walk down to the ring and do the hardest thing in my career, and I had to hand that belt over and say that I couldn't defend a title that I had worked for 4 years to get. And, I had to stand in front of those fans and say, I can't entertain you right now. If I can't defend this, if I can't fight, then I can't defend this. And I handed it over to the guy, and I said I relinquished to the championship. The second biggest injury that I've had is I had to have, I think it's been a little over a year now, I had to have shoulder surgery done on my shoulder. There was no space between my collar and AC joint. So literally when I was moving my shoulder, it was bone on bone. And there was arthritic cysts and everything forming in the pocket of where all that grinding was happening. So I had to go in and have a surgery done where they shaved down my collarbone and they made space in between so that I could actually move my arm. And I had to take a month. I had to take like 2 months out of wrestling to, have that surgery done and have the amount of time to sit back and let it heal that the doctors had told me to, because they said 4 to 6 weeks. And so, those are two of the biggest I had. But, the bumps and bruises are always there. I mean, you're always tweaking a shoulder or, you're always pulling muscles. It's just a physical strain. And, but it's the love of what we do. And it's a love that, can't really be explained in words. That is the reason why we keep going out there and taking the beating.
Totally agree. Just incredible stuff, match. It's one thing that wrestlers take pride of. No matter what sort of injury happens, y'all find a way to finish, win or lose. And that's
well, you see, my trainer, the best thing that I've ever heard from my trainer is my trainer to me. My trainer's name is Randy the Pin Taylor. Mm-hmm. And he took me under the wing when I joined SCW, now we're World Underground Wrestling America. And he came to me and he looked at me and he says, I'm going to tell you this right now. He says, never any time will you everything there is to know about wrestling. He says, movesets change. The way the psychology of wrestling changes as time goes by. He says, you are only as good as your last match. He says, if your last match sucks, then you're going to have to go that much further in that next match that you have to make up for the match where you had a few mistakes. He says mistakes never end your career. All it can do is you mentally have to be strong enough to come back from that, take the criticism that comes, and be for the next time.
Very, very true. Very true. So, you talk about being the champion, that all the hard work and, the blood, sweat, and tears that goes along with it. Like, what's that feeling like when you have your hand raised and you receive that championship? How would you describe that feeling of being a champion?
Well, between backyard wrestling and, wrestling the way that I do it now, I've been in this business for 10 years, and the one belt that I've never been able to actually finish is the World Heavyweight Championship. And, I've been a 4-time Intercity. I've been a 5-time tag champ. I've been a 2-time internet champ, but I've never ever been heavyweight champ. And I found out that I was finally champ at the heavyweight championship. It was, you got to realize, man, when you finally figure and you get scheduled in that match, and you see your name on the card, and it's the main event, and you're fighting the champ. I mean, there's buys every day walking through until you get into that match. But when I finally did it, and I finally got there, because to be a champion, you're always having to sell yourself. Every crowd that you go to, the biggest thing about a wrestler is every time a wrestler breaks a curtain, it doesn't matter if it's the first time or it's the 170th time. Every time that curtain, you're selling yourself to those fans. If you can't sell what and who you are, they're never going to believe you. And if you don't believe in yourself, they're never going to catch on. But having your hand raised when you've worked that hard for that long, I mean, it was an emotional time. I mean, I'll admit it. I cried. I held that belt to my face. I cried a little bit about it because it's an emotional time. It's somebody telling you that you're never going to do that, and then you make it. It's words can't explain the amount of emotions that go through you. I mean, it's like it just air out of you. It can happy. All the breath comes out of your body, and it's a happiness. And then, next day when I woke up, I was like, okay, I'm dreaming, right? And then I look over, and there's that belt sitting on the chair. 24 hours after it. I mean, it took me 2 weeks of actually having the heavyweight championship, and then the first time that I actually went out there and was announced as the world heavyweight champion was when it finally came. Like, dude, you're actually the heavyweight champion. You're the actual heavyweight champ. You're the one everybody's coming after. You have the cornerstone belt of this company, and that's when it sunk in.
It definitely sinks in when that ring announcer says World Heavyweight Champion and says your name right after and getting that reaction. That is quite that is quite the satisfaction. If
it takes the air out of you.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, with everybody, with a lot of us in quarantine, who are some people out there that you are so eager to go once this whole thing comes to an end?
Well, I mean, that's hard to say because there's so much great talent out there, and there's never one that I pick. There's guys like Sexy Pants Paul Preston here in Washington. He's a fantastic talent. He's the one that I was actually honored enough to be able to win the heavyweight championship from. There's guys out there like Bad Blood. He's over in BCW. Just exciting. Another great talent. Paul Cerberus. He's a man that I've had a 2.5-year rivalry with. And there's nothing like having a guy that just sits there, and every time he's standing in your face, you always want to go that much further to be better than him. And I mean, Paul Cerberus has always brought out everything there is in me when we have matches, and our matches are usually always epic, and we beat the crap out of each other. But there's so much great talent in the Pacific Northwest, and nobody really realizes how much talent there actually is. We've got a new up-and-comer, Little Kalima, and he's a fantastic talent. He's a great kid. He's got a great personality. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have a locker room that's a family. I mean, we come in and you go in and you talk to the guys you're gonna fight, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? How's the family? How's everyday life? What you been up to? It's more of not just walking up. Okay, what do you want to do today? It's not like that. I mean, we sit there and we talk. We have those moments where we're catching up on what the other guy went through. And I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversations once this epidemic is over. And there's just so much great talent out there. It would be wrong for me to say there's just one person because there's so much talent out there, and I want to face them all. I want to face them all as the champion, and anybody that wants to line up and try to take that belt from me, they're more than welcome.
Very, very true. And you heard from the champ, he says, whoever wants it, come get him. He'll be ready for anyone, anybody, once this is all said and done. So, so many fans, so many competitors, very eager of getting back to that ring to do what y'all love to do. It was great chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I'll let you go. Go ahead and promote your social media. Where can people check you out at?
I mean, everybody. Well, first and foremost, I want to World Underground Wrestling.
Yeah.
We're World Underground Wrestling America. We're known in 17 different countries. We're out of Bremerton, Washington. So if you ever get a chance and you're ever up in Bremerton, Washington, come to the Papanitas Wrestling, check us out. Great cards, great action, you know, and just a great set of guys. But for me, you can find me on Facebook at my Jaxon Bourne page, and you can find me on YouTube. I do have matches on YouTube. Just type in Jaxon Bourne, JaxonBourne. Type that into YouTube, and you can check out the past matches that I've done. Also about CWF, Columbus Wrestling Federation. It's the EFED that I'm working with. I also WF. So if you want to see some action, that's just, you know, great promos, some guys that can spit great stuff, you know, please check it out. But by all means, support independent wrestling. We are out here for you, and we're clocking in the miles just for you guys. And I want to thank you for having me here. It was an honor to chat with you. It was an honor to be on your show. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It was great to have you on as well. Continued success, and we all look forward seeing you back and to do what you do best. And until then, stay safe